minutes.
It just stopped, yeah.
It stopped at 40 minutes. Anyway, I'll continue.
Yes, please.
How much time do we have?
We have at least another 15 minutes for sure.
Okay. So MC Gupta put his head down and said, sorry, sir. My mistake. So I got a little angry. Both these guys had taken it on the chin, and I was the guy who had given the plan. So I got up. I said, Colonel Jacob, sir, I am the tank officer here. You may have appointed me a DQ. These two chaps don't know anything about it. I made the plan. He came to me, and I had assessed him. You know, General Jacob, or he was the later general, he's my army commander at one stage, but at that time he was a lieutenant colonel, and he, he pounces on you. And he's waiting to see your reaction. Very interesting character. He pounces on you, and if you take it on the chin, then there you are, you're an enemy. Now I stood up. I said, look, Colonel Jacob, you're a gunner officer. What the hell do you know about tanks? Have you ever been in a tank? What are you telling me? I practiced these crews. I've done it in my regiment. And tomorrow, if there's an actual battle, I'm going to do it again. See? But how can you go at night? I said, look, if I have to explain to you how to tank to move at night, then you come under me, bring a tank, and I'll show you. But I think you dressed down these two poor officers who took it on the chin. But they have nothing to do with it. I'm the man who made the plans. If you want to say anything to me, you say it to me. He said, well, you're a useless chap. You may be from the tank corps, but you've done a useless plan. I said, I disagree, Colonel Jacob. I desire to inform you that you have no knowledge of this subject, and you have got no business to tell me what I should do and what I should not do in a tank battle. He said, no, we've got a tank advisor here. He says what has to be done. I knew who he was. He's a very fine officer. He was also a lieutenant colonel. He was instructor in the staff parade. His name is V N Sharma. He's from the Sindh Horse. And V N Sharma commanded a tank regiment in the 1965 war, and he did very well indeed. You see? So I said, look, he's a tank commander. He did a war, which is an attack war. You know, in 1965, the armored division had tried to attack and had whatever. It's the Pakistanis who were attacking, we were defending. There's no chance of any counterattacks. So I said, he hasn't gone through this experience. I fully appreciate his views, but I'm a different human being. I mean, the two men don't make the same plan. You have to make a plan which the enemy does not expect. If you've taught the enemy, like you've been teaching these students, that tanks cannot attack at night, then he does not expect an attack till first light tomorrow morning.
Right.
He said, you're right. I said, then if I attack him at night, he's surprised, isn't he? The second point is that the end of the feature which we are attacking is a little stony. It's not easy for him to bring up his anti-tank guns during the night and dig them in on stony area. Therefore, this is a vulnerable point, and I'm attacking this point. So even if he had anti-tank guns, yes, they may knock out a few of my tanks, but I'll take the whole feature. Within 1 hour, we'll take the whole feature. He says, I think you're talking bullshit. I said, I'm not talking bullshit. I think you're talking bullshit. And I do not accept what's written in your pinks. I don't have to follow your pinks. I follow my own thing. In any case, if you are surprised to hear this plan, you think it's impossible, then the enemy also thinks it's impossible. That means I've surprised the enemy, which is the major factor of victory in battle. So I said, instead of bullshitting us, Colonel, sir, if you could kindly allow the war game to continue and let us see how the student, the enemy was ready, the directing staff themselves. You have a higher control telling the student general what are the orders, which he followed. And then depending on his orders, you've got lower control manned by directing staff who are assessing on the map exactly what you have done and what the enemy was trying to do to see how it pans out. And then give the result. So I said, let it go through. If my attack fails, then we'll look. Certainly, the directing staff on the lower end of the scale never expected an attack in the middle of the night. They didn't know what to do. And the enemy divisional commander, who was the directing staff also, had not got his defense stores up. He was still bringing them up. You know, you have to get wire obstacles, you have to dig trenches, you have to put your men down under cover, you've got to get anti-tank guns and bazookas and things ready for anything. And now in the middle of the night, you get a bloody attack also. 8, 10 tanks descending on you with all guns blazing, whether they're accurate or not. What's the fear of hell in today? And I concluded that they would have run. Anyway, we waited how the result took place because the commandant comes into it, everybody assesses the thing. And Jamie Hendricks got a very good award from his superior officer for having run an excellent tank battle. He came to me afterwards. He said, "Tit, you and I are going to be friends for life." I said, "No, Jamie, I have to compliment you. You took it all on the chin on my behalf, and that's a great quality. You didn't let down. Your ego had advised you. You took the responsibility. For that, I'm grateful." That's it. I just wanted to show you the sort of incidents that take place, creating lifelong friendships among students, no matter which army they belong. Happens again and again. You know, the military all over the world are exactly the same, whether they are Russian or Ukrainian, British, Indian, American, they follow orders. They're doing their bit as they are taught, but they're not politicians. See, they have a healthy respect for a good fighter, even if he's an enemy. There are many stories of this. I'll come to them later. As we come to the 65 war, I'll tell you stories later. It has meant. Because when you see a good fighter on the other end, you appreciate that. You're not a politician. And as I said earlier, hating an enemy is the last thing in the world you should do. It's one of the 10 commandments in the Bible. Thou shalt love thy enemy as thyself. No Christian nation, unfortunately, follows it. At least the politicians don't. Okay. So these are a couple of stories of staff courage I wanted to tell you before we proceed to the 19th Div. Now let me say a few words of 19th Div before we switch off again and we carry on next time.
Okay.
Now the 19th Division is a very famous division, the Dagger Division, and its headquarters was in Srinagar. In those days, there was no northern command of our army as it exists now. There was only a corps headquarters. The corps headquarters was 15 Corps, 15, located at a place called Udhampur, which is north of Jammu, en route to the road that goes to Kashmir. And that's where the corps headquarters is. And he was responsible for the whole of JNK. That means for the Jammu area as well as the Kashmir area. And the man in charge was a chap called Lieutenant General Bikram Singh. He's a Rim collier and a very, very tough soldier indeed. Very high quality. He's BGS, I'm forgetting his name, but he was also a Rim collier, a Major General. And so I had great respect for the higher command that is in Corps headquarters. In 19th Division, when I arrived, there were a lot of sad faces all around that a tank man has arrived in a mountain division. So my predecessor was a chap called Major Chandel of the Gurkhas, very fine officer. So he told me that, look here, you've arrived, have a good breakfast at the 3 messes of a division, officers' mess where you have your feeding. There's the A mess or Alpha mess, where the div commander himself feeds. So do all the heads of arms and services. And also only one major is there. He is the GSO2 operations. That's the General Staff Officer Grade 2, which is the major's rank, who is in charge of the operational side of the divisional's planning. There's a G1 operations above him and the general. But this major is the only major who is also a member of the Alpha mess. So I was in the Alpha mess. Then you have a Bravo mess where you have the other heads of arms and services. And then you have the Charlie mess where all the supporting arms the medical and the EME and the ordnance and the army service corps, their officers are eating their food there. Now we're all majors, so we all know each other. And the gup-shop goes about what happened there and what happened there. And most of them are interested in what's happening in the Alpha Mess, because what does the general say and what does the G1 say and what did Poop Singh say. And I was the go-between who to tell everybody what's going on. Because the majors wanted to know what the senior officers were thinking about. Staff college finished early. It was a 10 months course. It was reduced to 7 months because of the Chinese attack. And I think by March of 1963, I reached the headquarters of 19 Div at Baramulla. Baramulla is on the edge of the Jhelum River. The Jhelum River starts some 50 kilometers further back in the mountains of the Banial Pass and that area. Kazikund is the name. And from there, no, not Kazikund, but Anantnag. Anantnag is where there's a spring from which the Jhelum emanates. Very beautiful place. Then it winds its way through this flat valley, like a river in the flats, and eventually goes through a gorge. It starts at about 5,500, 6,000 feet, and it emanates from the valley at about 4,500 feet in a gorge where it rushes with torrential flow to Muzaffarabad in occupied Kashmir, and then southwards to join the Indus River as a tributary, the Jhelum. It's no mean river, it's a very, very strong river. So Gurdeep Bedi was posted at Uri, which was further up, to defend the front line facing the Pakistan. I was in the headquarters at Baramulla, about 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers further back. And what I noticed here, there were a lot of glum faces. That a GSU2 ops who has to be a solid infantry officer, a tank man has been posted. So my GSO1 at that time was a chap called Lieutenant Colonel Ram Singh. And Mr. Ram Singh was from the Madras regiment, and he gave me the impression that he's a very religious man, he's a very Granthi type of man. And he said, you know, you're a tank man, I don't want to kill you climbing these mountains, they're very steep mountains here. So you don't step out of your office. You sit down there in your office, you will a temporary Hetman's office. You sit down there and write the standing orders for war of the division. Now these standing orders are thick kitab, which nobody ever reads. Because this is World War I technique where you had standing orders for anything that had to be done, so that the nincompoops of the army follow the drill. And the brilliant people decide what else is to be done. Okay. So I told him, I said, come on, sir, this is old hat. Nobody reads standing orders, you're just wasting my time. He says, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to climb all these pickets in the mountains to understand what's going on. But the maps are flat. Pickets are up and down. I mean, let us say there's a gorge and a valley. Pickets are going up to 6,000 feet, 8,000 feet on either side. On a flat map, it's very difficult to work out the slopes and the depressions and the heights. It's a flat map. You have to add a lot of imagination to understand, read the contours properly, etc. But it's best to go and see on the ground to get a feel of the land, so you can advise the general everything. Now, every day you should get sit reps. Sit reps is a situation report from the front line of whatever happened, from the brigade headquarters to the division headquarters. And I had to assess those and send them to the corps headquarters in Udhampur. And before I sent that, I report to the general officer commanding to show him that this is the sit rep and what do I feel about it. Half of them are false. At least I saw that in the first week. So when I went there, Miss Major Tandale said, okay, you have a late breakfast and come and join me. I was sitting there at about 10 o'clock in the morning, having my breakfast. It's a small room with a round table. And as I was finishing my eggs after my cereal, in walks a tall, strapping chap, about 6 foot 2 inches tall, wearing a para jacket, para jacket with no ranks, nothing on it. He was Sardar with a graying, clipped beard. And he sat down. So I said, good morning. He said, good morning. So he says, who are you? I said, then the new GSO2 ops have just come in and having a late breakfast. I'll be going to the headquarters short. And I said, who are you? I thought he was a camp commander or something, retired officer who's been re-employed to look after the administration of the headquarters. He said, I happen to be commanding this division. My name is Ravindra Garewal. I said, oh, good morning, sir. I'm sorry. So he says, I'm told you're a cavalry officer. I said, yes, I am. I'm very proud of the fact. He said, will you manage in these mountains? I said, I'm born and bred in mountains. I've done from 6 years of age, Sherwood College, Nainital, 8,000 foot heights. I can climb like a monkey anywhere here. No big deal. But that your G1 doesn't think so. He thinks that I should just sit down in the headquarters and write army, the standing orders of war, which I think is a waste of time. Yes, I agree with you. He said, you speak very boldly. Where did you do your studies? I said, RIMC, sir. You go. I am also RIMC. He says, you are very welcome in my division. It's grand to have a rim column. This is the connection of that old school. Go further here. Corps commander was visiting. General Bikram, Hawa, King's commissioned officer. I must tell you about King's commissioned officers. We've got another few minutes. King's commissioned officers were those who were commissioned before partition.
Okay.
And many of them had come from Sanders, from British training. So they got a King's commission, a certain amount of money, like the ICS, Indian Civil Service. When partition took place, Jawaharlal Nehru had no money in a new country. He reduced everyone's pay by 50%. So these King's commission officers in the Indian civil service who had been commissioned from England, they said, look, our terms of contract, this is our salary and this is our pension, and laid down when we joined. So no joker is going to change that, otherwise we quit. Now you couldn't have all the senior officers and senior civil service officers quitting the government. So you all said, okay, you have your pay, but those commissioned in India from the Indian Military Academy, the first commission was in 1934, will be get Indian pay. So you had a major general like Ravindra Garewal of Indian pay, receiving half the pay of another major general, let us call him in some other division of the same corps, getting King's commission paid double the salary. So there is a little bit of tutu meme going on there, but what could you do about it? And Bikram Singh was a King's commission officer, so he could swing the dead. He came to visit. And we were all lined up. Now the chief commander's hut was on the banks of the Jhelum with a wooden jetty jutting out into the Jhelum. They're very peaceful. Bara, one of the lovely places. Visited sometime. The river is lazily going past, and the general we have hutments next to the riverbank, and the general had a larger hut, and he had a jetty sticking out where we used to have our get-togethers and parties whenever he invited us, which is there, so that boats could come there and you could get in and get out and all that. So he lined up on his jetty, and the G1 was asked to introduce all the officers to the corps commander. So Bikram Singh started from this side and met everybody, and so. Then this short fellow sitting in between. He said, hello, who are you? He said, I'm Vishwanath Sharma, sir, Major Vishwanath Sharma. He said, what regiment are you from? Which battalion are you from? I said, I'm from 16 Light Cavalry. He says, cavalry? How has a cavalry officer been posted here? So, Robin, yes, sir, that's my general. Send a message to MS Branch that we remove this officer from here and we want an infantry officer. So they turned on to me, said, you heard what I said. I don't think a cavalry officer switch here. So I said, I'm sorry, sir. I don't think any of your infantry officers are all that good. I think I'm a damn sight better than a lot of them, at least at my rank. And I don't appreciate some of your higher rank officers here either. But I got to know who was commanding what brigade, and it took a dim view of some of them. You speak up, Joe. So Ravan came to him. He said, sir, he's a Rimcollian. Oh, is he your Rimcollian? Which section are you from? So I'm from Rawlinson section, sir. He said, oh, I was from Kichakar. Shake hand. You're welcome to the division. Again, the old school. Good to belong to that institute. He goes through Army, Navy. So now let's talk about Ravindra Garewal, for instance. A very interesting character, so I spent the time on him. We're coming on to close. Doesn't matter if we close, we'll carry on next. All right. Ravindra was an infantry officer, I think, Maratha Light Infantry. And he had never succeeded in a promotion board throughout his career. But he had become a major general. So when we used to walk the mountains to go from picket to picket, he used to tell me his story. And I was a very interested listener. I said, how's it that you never got promoted? He said, because I failed all the exams and all the tests. And he's a very religious man. He said, but Bhagwan wants to make somebody, man, how can anyone be stopped? He does it. So I said, then what happened? He says, I was a lieutenant colonel posted to army headquarters in the military police because they didn't think we fit for anything else. He had not done staff college and he had not done any of the interesting courses of instruction. Solid soldier. But he had experience of battle. You know, when the Kashmir War took place, 1947 to 1948, this chap was second in command of his battalion in the Poonch area. Poonch is a very area which is west of Jammu Kashmir, on the border with Pakistan. Islamabad is nearby. I mean, there's a border there. And Poonch was always a hotbed of Islamic tendencies. And so the Pakistanis had attacked that place. There was a brigade there who were completely surrounded by the Pakistanis. And they had ammunition running down and everything. And the brigade commander had been yelling away to say, "Bhai, somehow, please supply me some ammunition at least. You did not send any food. Otherwise, we're going to get finished off by the Pakis." 1947. After the November war started. This is about early 1948. And so Ravindra Garewal was in a brigade and his battalion was ordered to do the attack through the Pakistani positions to relieve Poonch. And so they couldn't carry out the whole attack. They attacked at night. As the attack was about to go in, his commanding officer said he has got a tummy upset. So he withdrew from the battlefield.
Okay.
And this guy who was the second in command, he led the battalion into the first two companies. He went in with himself, attacked through the Pakistani cordon and contacted the brigade headquarters and relieved them with supplies and things. And then held a certain portion against Pakistani counterattack. But Ravindra, while he was doing this, received 5 bullets in his body. One of them in his skull and 4 others in his body. So as the attack succeeded, he went out in a stretcher. He was not seen or heard of again by the division commander there. So when the attack succeeded, the award for capture of that was given to the commanding officer who had not actually been in the attack, whose tummy was out. And so he got the award for it, whatever he got. Nobody thought of Ravindra. Nonetheless, Ravindra was taken back to Delhi by air. They removed all these four bullets from his body, but there was one in the brain. And the neurosurgeon in the Delhi hospitals said, we can't do that because it's in the brain. And they requested the British High Commission, because we were very close to the British in those days since partition had taken place. And the British High Commission said, our aircraft goes once a week to London. So we'll take him and we'll take the aircraft tomorrow and we'll take this guy. So they took Ravindra to England, to London, for the surgeons there to have a look at him, and they examined him. And the surgical report from there was that this bullet is lodged in a very delicate area of the brain. Since the patient has not got anything wrong with him, his faculties are there, we don't want to try and remove it. If we try and remove it, he may become mad. So they left the bullet in his brain. He told me that, General Saab, Major Saab, I have got a bullet in my head. Then he went to, he was only a major. They promoted him to Lieutenant Colonel. As a Lieutenant Colonel, he went to Bhrigu Sanskar in Hoshiarpur. Said, मेरा bullet लगी है, मेरा क्या आगे? They found his patri. They said, तू Major General बन जाए. मैं मेजर जनरल बन जाऊंगा, मेरा तो कोई बॉडी ही नहीं पास हुआ, सिलेक्शन। यहाँ तो देखा तेरा तो मेजर जनरल बन जाए, लेकिन आपकी मौत हो गई हवाई जहाज। So he decided never to travel by air anyway. Wherever he had to go, he went by jeep or by road. It belonged to Ludhiana, that area. He had a farm there called Maharajke. He told me all this. Then I said, then how did you become a major general? He said, when I was a lieutenant colonel, they didn't know what to do with me. So they posted him to military police in army headquarters. And now Field Marshal Ayub Khan or somebody of Pakistan, the president, was visiting India. Jordan said that, all the children may be lined up on the road and now they put up flags and do clapping and all that, the blah that takes place when a head of state visits. And Rawat was to lead this convoy. He came from the Delhi airport, the Spanam airport, which had just been opened. And they came from there along the, what is now the SP Marg. And, you come to a crescent. This Rashtrapati Bhavan is there, where there is this famous statue of Gandhi on his dandy march with 4 or 5 people. I don't know if you see that's a beautiful piece.
Right.
If you turn left, you go to Talkatora and all that, and you go to the northern end of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So what he had to do was to turn right and come to the army headquarters. While he was looking back to see that the column is going slowly, his driver turned left instead of turning right. So the whole column went askew, with the result that all the children who were lined up clapping, they got left behind there, and he went through areas, but there were no children clapping. So Jawaharlal Nehru got very peeved. He told the defense minister, sack that fellow, whoever it was. So Rawat Garewal was sacked. Now he was a lieutenant colonel wearing MP military police uniform, no job. So he said, but I am a very exercise buff. I keep marching up and down the corridors all the time, and I have to keep myself fit. So he says, I had no work, I had no office, but I meticulously came to the office at 9 o'clock when the army headquarters opened and never left for a minute at 5 o'clock in the evening. So I said, what do you do in between? There were 3 or 4 levels of the army headquarters. So start from the basement, walking everywhere, then next level, and then next level, walk all over the place. And then come back and have my tea or whatever had to be done, then start walking again. He's a big man, 6 foot 2 inches. When he marches, it, like a bulldozer going down the road. He was crossing on the 3rd floor of the army headquarters. He's going along the corridor, and there's the MS branch there. MS branch is the military secretary's branch, who look after the postings and promotions and all that of officers. It should be part of the adjutant general's branch, but was separated out because the army had grown. So the military secretary was a lieutenant general. He's an armored corps man. He had commanded armored corps center in school as a brigadier. I know him very well. He's a short man. And now he had become the military secretary. He opened the door to walk out, and just when this bulldozer was coming down the road, and they bang. And the MS went sprawling because, Rawat is a big man. So he went sprawling. He said, I'm very sorry, sir. Smart salute and helped him up. He said, who are you? He said, I'm Rawat Garewal. What the hell are you doing here? He said, I'm marching. He said, what do you mean you're marching? I've been sacked as the military policeman. And I come at 5 in the morning. At 9 in the morning, I go away at 5 in the evening, and there's nothing else to do, so I keep marching. I have to keep myself fit. So he said, you've got no office, no job. How is that possible? How can you have an officer being given pay and salary as a lieutenant colonel and get no job? He said, so that's up to you. You're the MS, you ought to know. He said, well, I'll tell you what, Robin. I'll promote to brigadier in 1 day. Everybody to catch the plane tomorrow morning and go to Ladakh. Because Ladakh is not defended at all. No military has gone there. I've asked a few officers to get posted there, they've all refused. So I'll make you a brigadier if you agree to go to Ladakh and set up the defenses there. You don't have much there. You have Ladakh scouts, which is about a battalion's worth of local people, and 1 battalion. But nonetheless, you lay down the way of defense of Ladakh in case the Chinese attack. This is 1963. So it's after the 1962 war. So, since the Chinese had attacked, so something had to be done. So Ravan put on a brigadier's pips and ended up in Ladakh. He served 1 year over there. He said, the best thing I know is how to walk. He said, walked all over the Ladakh. Because he walked all over the Ladakh, he knew all the hills and dales and heights and valleys, and he laid out defenses for a full division, though he was only a brigade commander. And he had only 2 battalions. He said, if till the full division comes, this is the layout. When the full division comes, it will be like this, like this. He did about 2 years over there. And because he got very good reports and results from the corps commander, because he'd done a hell of a job of work there, MS Branch promoted him Major General and sent him for relief and rest to 19th Division in Barabar.
Wow.
Became a Major General. See? This man, he said, General, he said, Major Sir, God wants to make you Major General, who can stop you? He's written in Brigu Sanskar also. And I become a Major General. But I know I'll have to go back to the dark again. So I am preparing for the day. I said, how do you prepare? He said, I lie in a tub of water with ice for half an hour every day to make the body used to the cold. I massage myself. I keep my beard trimmed so that I don't have to have a long beard. And he had very little hair, so he said, just have a ready-made safa, which is put it on top of it. He said, I can get ready in 2 minutes. If somebody sends me to the dark, I'll put in the next 1 hour if I can. This is Rabin Gadewal. It's a pleasure to meet that man. Unfortunately, to jump ahead a little, when the next winter came, I'm talking, I landed up there in March. Come December, the corps headquarters called a conference in Udhampur. That's the Bikram Singh. He wanted all div commanders to come there, did the maps, and if they wanted a staff officer to point out to discuss operational plans. So the div commanders from the plains area, from Jammu came there, and then, there was the Poonch area, another area, the division over there, they came there. But Rabin Gadewal had to go from Srinagar. Srinagar was full of snow. We had an extra snow at that time. I remember outside my hut, it was 6 feet of snow all around, and we were almost drowned in the snow. And my Sahayak used to cut a path through the snow for me to emulate in the morning to go to my office. We had to walk, no vehicle could be used. And we had sigris and all that inside huts, which had double walls so that we could survive in the cold. It went down to about 15 Celsius, minus 15 Celsius in Baramulla at that time. Up on the hills, it was minus 20, minus 30. And there's a particularly cold winter, I recollect. And he decided to go by jeep. But the Banihal pass was closed. That means you have to drive all the way westwards to Banihal Pass. And that had 8 feet of snow all over. And it could not be cleared till the snow stopped. So the sub-area commander in Srinagar was an armored corps officer from the Sindh Horse. And Joe Das was his name. Very fine officer. He had commanded Sindh Horse. And his GSO2 in the sub-area was my friend Choki Menon, who was the son of VP Menon, who was a staff officer to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who had done the, sorted out all the states of India, the princely states. Uska ladka. And he had been in the academy with me. He had gone up to senior officer, so was I a senior officer. He's a very good boxer, and he thrashed me once or twice in the ring also. So Choki Menon, we called him. He was the GSF2 of the surveyor. He rang me up. He says, my Brigadier Joe Das has also been asked to come for this conference. So we've got a special plane that has visited Ladakh, and it is an Illusion 14. It's a new plane, which was a Russian plane. Otherwise, there were Dakotas. Dakotas, seating and all that is much less. But this Illusion 14 had radar and had a higher ceiling. So that he's come from Ladakh, he's penetrated the clouds, and he landed in Srinagar. He's picking up the leave party and all that, and we've held him back. In case the general and the sub-area commander want to go to Udhampur, he'll fly them to Udhampur on his route to Jammu. So Jodas rang up the general, said, General, this plane is here and you come with me, I've got it fixed. The general said, I don't travel by air. So Jodas said, well, I'll come in. So he came in a jeep there, he met me in the office. He said, hey, what's the matter with your general? Why can't he come? I said, he's got his own hassles on the step. He's got a bullet in the brain also. He doesn't travel by air. Drigu has told him that he'll die if he does. He said, but nonsense, I don't believe that mumbo jumbo. She sat for a whole hour with Ravin Garewal to say, you must come by the air. I have held the aircraft and we can even go tomorrow. There's no big deal. We'll be in time and we'll reach Uthampur in a couple of hours in an hour's flight. Ravin said, I don't want to travel. I'll go by jeep. He said, you can't go by jeep. The Banyard is closed. You'll get stuck there for the next thing. You won't be able to attend the conference. Then Ravin didn't want to go. So Jodas told him, all right, if you don't go, then I'll have to give my excuses. I won't go either. He said, no, Jodas, you don't have any answer. You go by plane. Yeah, how can I go in the plane when the general of the division is not here? There is only a brigadier. If you don't come, I will also not. Then the general said, all right, if that's the case, I'll go. So when I came to know this, I said, I'll come with you. I've got the maps, everything and all that. He said, no, you will not come with me. Then I had an intelligence major, very good man, a chap called DP Sahunja, very fine officer from the gunners. He knew all the intelligence work. So I told DP, you go with the general. So he went to the general, sir, I'll come. He said, you get back to your office, I'm not taking. Then a chap called Hari Honda, he was a captain, he's under me. He was GSO3 operation. He's from Gurkhas. He's a very good friend of mine. He's also a Rim collier. Hari, you go with him. So he said, all right, I'll go. So Hari went to, sir, मैं जाऊंगा आपके साथ. He said, you get back to your office, I don't want. Then I went to the general. I said, what's the matter with you? Why can't a staff officer accompany you? Point out your map and say, you can't do all this yourself. He said, no, I'll take my PA. He was also a Sardar, nice, tall, handsome fellow. He said, I'll take my PA, nobody else will come. So he boarded this plane with Jodas and his PA, and Jodas had taken an officer with him. They took off and were never heard of again.
Oh my God.
7-8 months later, when the snows melted on Banehar, then we found the wreckage of this plane, fished the bodies out and gave them a proper funeral. That is the story of Ravin Garewal, very great man.
Oh
He's my
my.
first general officer commanding.